I am but an average forum board user. But not until 11 years ago, when the site became a part of a large group investigating what I should call a strange incident that happened in Russia. Here is my story of what I have gathered about the incident. On October the 17th, 1997, 6 teenagers were arrested for driving erratically near a school district in a carpool. They were reported to be in pain, most of them complaining of hallucinations and headaches. Police suspected them of taking drugs, but upon further investigation of a drug tester, the report concluded that it was not drugs. The 6 teenagers were sent to a local hospital for evaluation of their diseases. All 6 patients refused to give their names, and so were given numbers instead. 1 and 4 were females, and the rest were male patients. After a hospital stay of 10 days, the doctors were puzzled at what the patients were suffering from. They reported incoherent talking, screaming, and a strange rash on their chests. A short background investigation followed, and the unusual thing it reported was that 2 months ago, the group of 6 were friends who took a hike in the wilderness mountains. They had caught some kind of spore during their trip and suffered anthrax-like symptoms. Once they returned, fortunately after treatment these symptoms disappeared. It was decided to send the patients to the Fuik Research and Hospital Center, located just a few miles from the hospital, as many doctors suspected this might be a new disease. Afterwards, what happened was apparently classified by the government, and cast by which many claim as a cover story. What the government claimed was that over a period of 2 weeks of testing, all of the patients were declared to have pneumonia-like disease, likely caused by secondary infections from spores which they picked up on their previous mountain hike. But it was too late for treatment, and all 6 patients died. Their bodies were cremated and sent to the family members in urns. But there were a few suspicious sides of this story that lead many to believe the government was trying to hide something from the public. First off, many of the teenagers' families had issued a statement wishing for the teenagers' bodies to be delivered to them for a formal burial. None of the families requested for their bodies to be cremated. And an even more strange part was that the research laboratory where the patients resided abruptly closed down. According to rumors, at just about the exact same time the teenage patients were declared dead, armed guards stood outside of the building, wearing SWAT body armor and holding assault rifles. A few wanderers reported that the doors of the building to be bolted shut completely, and the windows to be covered with black material, likely curtains. All of these facts eventually led to a general group on the internet forum. I was in to start an investigation on if there was a secret side to this story. I was curious about everything, and I joined and I became one of the biggest informants of the group. Many anonymous users have sent me detailed logs, information, and reports that they have claimed to have been recorded about the Fuik patients. But none of them really pointed to any real nor new information. Years passed. The forum eventually started to lose its popularity and the group shrank. I myself was thinking of resigning from the site when one user under the name of Makal113 sent a private message. He claimed he was trying to retrieve the video memory from the security cameras at Fuik, which had backup videos stored online. I kept in touch with this guy via PM. Eventually I gave him my email, and every day he began to email me with what he had gotten with the site. For the first few weeks he got nothing out of the hacking. Then almost a month later he sent me a large gigabyte video on an online video host and told me to try to skim through it. I opened up my video editing software and took a look at the video. It was kind of boring, and it was honestly not what I was expecting to see. The room was completely white and had an eerie sterile feeling to it. The patients were all lying in square white beds with white bed sheets. I put the video on super speed. Nothing really interesting happened. The patients will once in a while turn around in bed, cough, and maybe sit up. Doctors and nurses will come in once in a while to check up on them and provide food and drink and attention. Overall, the video did not seem to be any much too strange or different. On the second day, the videos were the same. The third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. Soon my friend didn't even bother making a description anymore. It was just a no subject title line. However, on Friday night, I noticed something strange about the patients. In the 7th day of the tape, I played the video on a super high speed as always. The patients seemed to be in the same condition they had been for the week. But there was something different about this time. The timestamp of the video read about 10 o'clock in the morning. I do not know how to accurately describe this, but the patients' bodies, they were slowly, very slowly, but noticeably starting to swell, mostly in the stomach and chest areas. It was late at night. I did not dare to watch the rest of the videos, because it really was creeping me out, and I am not a fan of nightmares. But now I was very curious to know the rest of the story, to this mystery. The next day, my friend's email arrived at 7 o'clock in the morning. This time, he included a voice message with it. Apparently, he'd watched the video as well. His voice was very shaky, and I just read the fear in his voice as he spoke. Did you notice something about the Fuik patients in the last video I sent you? I just happened to watch it, and what I saw, the patients were just like literally bloating up. And the way they moaned, it's just, freaked me out so badly. Now we know what we're looking at, a mystery. And the way I see it, a really disturbing one too. I'm not daring to look at this one. Please, if you can, watch it and tell me. My hands were shaking as I clicked the host link and the new tab opened up. To say the least, I was shaking. The circling buffering button seemed to take forever to load. Finally, the triangle play button appeared, and holding my breath, I loaded it into my video editor and played it. Things didn't seem to get any better for the patients. Their skins were a sickening reddish color today, as if they had been in a tanning bed for 6 hours straight, and the bloating also did not seem to quell. Over the next 5-hour period, I sped into 5 minutes. I watched in disbelief as the patient's chest areas started to rise. They soon were so puffed a bit of their stomach showed through the top of their shirts. It was clearly visible, even at an overhead view. I didn't want to see any more of the video, I just didn't. I clicked out of the host site and hammered down a quick reply to my friend claiming I did not notice any swelling and that he probably just saw it wrong. He didn't like it to lie like that, but at the same time I don't want to freak him out with how the patients looked at this point. The next day seemed to take forever to rise, partly because I hunched over my laptop from 5 in the morning running the facts of what I saw of the videos to the forum board group. Many of the people didn't believe me, and I can't blame them. Then at 11:30 straight, a beep sound on my email alerter. A new message pop-up appeared. From Macaulay. No subject. He did not include a message this time, probably since he's just too scared to view the video and pre-inform me of anything. I dragged the video into my editor as usual after it loaded and buffered. I hit the play button, forgetting to speed it up. The time stamp of the video read 6:12 AM. The screen was pitch black for a couple of seconds. Then there was a white flash and the video slowly dimmed in. What I saw made me scream and scream again. Every one of the patients, every single one of them was lying in a pool of blood. Dead. These patients are dead. That was the first thing to come to my mind. But then a sudden movement at the bottom of the screen caught my eye. It was one of the patients. He or she was still alive. I'm not sure of his gender. He was too disfigured by the bloating and by the dark of the early morning to be made out. I dragged the video flipper forward about 5 hours to around noon. The scene was too gruesome to describe. The white sheets of the patients in the patients' beds were all stained with blood and a strange brownish red fluid. And judging from the scrunched up faces of the few doctors and nurses that entered the room throughout their day, it must have smelled pretty bad too. I'm sorry to say this, guys, but all of this footage was too disturbing for me to bear. I skipped 4 hours of the video, only viewing the last and the end of the 2-week period that the patients stayed. What I saw on the final day of the security camera footage will haunt me for the rest of my life. The tape started at about 1 in the afternoon. The patients were horribly bloated and deformed and had yellowish fluids seeping from gaping sores in every visible part of the skin. But this was not just the patients. At around 3 in the afternoon, a figure walked into the room wearing a starched white coat. It took me a while to register that that man had to be a doctor or a scientist. It took me even longer to recognize the long, black object he was holding in his hands. It was an assault rifle. The guy pulled back some sort of mechanism on the gun, then in a split second, had the gun raised and aimed. 30 bullets flew through the air in less than 4 seconds, full auto. I have never heard a gun so loud. Movies exaggerated it way too much. The patients didn't cry or react in any way at all to the bullets. They just suddenly shrugged as the bullets slammed into them, driving them backwards. Then, as they lay still 2 days later, I finally realized what was wrong. Why the teenagers were cremated. Why they were so horribly deformed in the videos. And why the doctor stormed into the room with a gun and shot them all. Research had finally brought me to the disturbing answer. The patients have been dead when they arrived at Fuik. They were dead the whole 2-week period, possibly dead at the hospital, yet they were still moving and talking. And the most disturbing part of all, their bloating was the first stages of decomposition. It was a full 2 weeks of footage watching 6 rotting corpses.